Thanks for finding my podcast again. I'm Kerry Pearce, Principal Osteopath and Self-Directed Healing Practitioner at Lilydale Osteopathy and Natural Healthcare. This is Season 1, Episode 1 of Living in Alignment. Now, it's always a bit of a challenge to know where to start with a new project like this, so I thought, why not at the beginning? It's not an uncommon thing that I get asked, how did you get into osteopathy? And I thought it was a bit of a cute story, so why not start there? Like most kids, I was always asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? And for me, the answer was I wanted to be a doctor. I think I had a fascination with bodies, how they would get damaged and heal. I always was bandaging my friends and family. Maybe I wanted to be a nurse, maybe I wanted to be a doctor. I loved bodies, I loved the stories they held, and I wanted to be a part of that story. But as I got a bit older, I realised just how clever you had to be and how dedicated you needed to be to go down that path. And I don't think I was cut out for it. So I put that idea on the back burner and started to think about other ideas. Now, I was always very touchy-feely. Even as a toddler, I would get into bed with mum and dad and I'd give dad head massages. And there was myself and a couple of girlfriends in primary school that would sit at the feet of the teacher during story time, and we would massage each other's feet and massage the teacher's feet. Don't think she complained. I could find what I now know are trigger points without even knowing what I was doing. I think I always had a bit of the touch. But I ultimately really had no idea. Now, I went to 3 different high schools. I started at Parkwood Secondary College, where I was an excellent student, bit of a teacher's pet, part of the student representative program. And I was on the committee to help bring in the middle school elective system, which our much larger neighbour high school, Norwood Secondary College, had implemented many years prior and was running quite effectively. Now, the bid was successful, but I was granted only 3 out of 15 electives and decided that wasn't good enough. And so I ended up going to Norwood. Now, that was fine for the first 6 months until I had a run-in with my Year 10 English teacher. Norwood had a very clever grading system for their students. Like most schools, you would finish your semester with an exam and a letter grade. You would go home with an A, B, C or D letter grade. Again, I was always an academic student, generally passed things with A's, maybe not so much in music and art, but science, maths, English, I always did pretty well. But Norwood also added a number grade to this system, which was the amount of effort that you were shown to put in. So as a parent, the best you could ask for was a C1 from your student. So a C would indicate that you were getting the expected amount of grades from your class, but you were trying really hard. You were a number 1 student. So I was an A1 student, that teacher's pet, working hard, A1 student. However, end of semester, Year 10 English exam, like most Year 10s, we had to do a Shakespeare play. I think in our case it was Macbeth. And when it came to that end of year exam, and I'm not exaggerating here, the students were singing and dancing on the tables during the exam. The class control was non-existent. Now, at the end of that exam, I waited till most of the students had gone and asked the teacher if I could resit that exam in a quieter environment. It obviously wasn't conducive to good exam conditions. I imagine that he wasn't very happy about me confronting him, although I did do my best to do it not in front of anybody so that he wasn't embarrassed. I was sensitive to that. But nonetheless, he took issue and basically said no. Somehow or other, that got through the school. The principal said that I was allowed to do it. He nonetheless still failed me with a 9 out of 20 for that assignment. And at the end of that second semester, he gave me a D3. I'd never had anything less than an A for English, and all my subjects at Norwood I had garnered a 1 for effort, and English was certainly no different. So I didn't stick around at Norwood for very long, and I ended up doing my VCE at Malorna Secondary College before it amalgamated into a single campus. And so that was great. Being part of that senior campus was a fantastic environment where they treated us like adults. I did an IT subject there. Did really well. I completed all the work for the first semester in 6 weeks. twice because the good old floppy disk that I submitted my original portfolio on had been corrupted, so I needed to do it all over again. So maybe I had a career in IT. I got into computers very early, so it was an interest that I had and a skill that I had demonstrated that I had a talent in throughout year 11. But it was not to be. The benefit of all that moving around was I managed to avoid doing work experience. Now, work experience is an opportunity for students in usually years 9, 10 or 11, where they go and spend a couple of weeks in a workplace. Now, some students use that opportunity to build a reputation and a connection with a company where they might get some part-time work, such as Coles or Kmart. Others will take it a bit more seriously and go and work in a lab or in a programming company or somewhere where they might actually have an interest in pursuing that career. But I still had no idea. So that actually suited me. I wasn't the sort of student who wanted to waste that opportunity. So the fact that I never had to do it actually worked out for me. It wasn't until I got to the end of year 11 where I really had to start thinking seriously about what I was going to do when I finished school, because I discovered that there were some university degrees that had prerequisites for year 12 subjects. And at this point I realised I was probably going to end up in some form of manual healthcare, which meant doing chemistry and methods. That's okay. I did chemistry and methods and I did okay. Not quite straight A's at this point, but I did okay. Now, I didn't get first or second round offers into anything that I really wanted to do. And so feeling a bit defeated, I sat down with the VTAC guide, desperate for anything that might attract my attention and perhaps give me some credits that I could apply before transferring for the following year. Now, La Trobe University in Bundoora had just begun a brand new degree called Medical Science. I rang the university direct and asked if they had any positions left in that, any places left in that degree. And they simply asked, did you get over 81? I had. Did you do chemistry? I did. And so I had a place in medical science. I actually really liked that campus at La Trobe, and it was a great way to spend that first year of university. And I was a little bit sad to leave, but I got accepted into osteopathy the following year without any hesitation. Now, osteopathy at RMIT, back when I started in 1998, was a lot like being back in high school. You were given a timetable with a bunch of different subjects. The class was small, there was only 25 students, and we all sort of stuck together through that period. The two degrees ran alongside each other. The first 12 months was about 80% clinical science and 20% osteopathy. But by the fifth year, it was 20% clinical science and 80% osteopathy. Now, that clinical science degree was everything from anatomy, biochemistry, biology, physiology, radiology, neurology, cardiology, audiology, ophthalmology, pathology, all the ologies. And when having a conversation with one of my friends who was doing medicine at the time, he was actually quite surprised at the level and depth of study that we went into. The medicine students did a lot more in terms of infectious diseases and pharmacology than we did, but we did a lot more in terms of musculoskeletal anatomy and radiology in particular. In hindsight, if I'd actually put my head down and studied, I probably could have gotten into medicine. But with that same hindsight, I don't think I would have wanted to. I wouldn't get to do the hands-on part that I love so much and spend the one-on-one time that I do with my patients and make the amazing connections that I have. I really do get the best of both worlds, because really, if you take medicine and massage and mush it together, you get osteopathy. I hope you had a little bit of a laugh, and I'll catch you in episode 2.